welcome to High Flyers, the show that gives you a 360-degree view of Asia's business elite. Today we meet the mastermind behind the world's second most popular word processor, trailing only Microsoft. In 2015, he was ranked Asia's wealthiest entrepreneur under 40, and he remains highly ambitious. He has a string of projects in the pipeline. Let's meet Cellframe's Arun Pudur.
It all came from fixing scooters in a small garage. That's where Arun Pudur learned sales, marketing, customer service, and most importantly, how to solve problems. That experience helped him succeed in tech and motivated him to expand into other sectors, including retail, mining, and real estate. His motto is never take a back seat in anything you're involved in.
Nice to see you.
Time now for this high flyer to join us on the Singapore Flyer to tell us about his remaining goals.
Arun Pudur, welcome to High Flyers.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You made your first million at 21, first billion at 26, but it all started when you were 13 with borrowed money from mom of $150. Tell us the story.
Okay, let me make a correction. It was an investment. Okay, yes, because, I wanted to start a business and I was pretty young at the time. And, the best bank that you have is your parents. My friends were busy asking them, can I get a bicycle? Can I get this shoe or whatever? So I did ask them. $150 at the time was big money. It was like 8,000 to 9,000 rupees, which was almost 2 months' salary for, some people. So I did wanted to start a business on my own. And I found a guy who was just near our house. And I felt, you know what? I want to get into this business because he was earning about 5,000 to 6,000 for his owner. And I felt, why not me do the same thing?
You were fixing Honda scooters in the garage.
Yes. What happened is 6 months down the lane, he just left us, without any notice or whatsoever. So it was either an option to close it down, take the losses and walk away, or go ahead and do what he's supposed to do. So I decided, why not? Because I was a student, so I used to observe him doing it, and it's a question of experimenting. And within a matter of about 5 to 6 months, I used to go to school, come back from school. I used to open up by appointment, okay? And people used to come to me on appointment. And in 6 months, we turned around the company, and we were making something close to $300 per month.
And when you sold it, about 5 years later, you sold it for $200,000. All went to mom.
Exactly.
Loan plus a huge interest.
And she still owns 5% of my entire company.
Mom has a good deal.
Yeah, that was a fantastic deal. We started franchising it, and then we started getting long-term contracts with people. That is where I actually learned everything about business. As they say, even I didn't go for an Ivy League college because my father was very interested, as Asian parents, we wanted us to go to this school or that school. We had the capability to do that. But I basically told him that when I can hire an Ivy League, why I need to go to an Ivy League? And I learned a very important tool over there. If I can convince somebody to give me $1 to, in a garage, I can convince a billionaire to give me $1 billion. So money wasn't a factor. The whole factor all boiled down to human interaction. Get to know them. That's where I learned my sales and marketing, my customer handling, my upselling. Everything was done practically in the street down there. And we knew how to attract people as well. We used to keep a row of bikes right in front, right at the edge of the street. So when people used to ride back, they used to see like 20 bikes over there. They're like, this should be a massive garage. So we used to work in that fashion. That's how I grew.
But from scooters, you went to dogs. You raised champion dogs. What did you learn from that experience?
So the dog breeding was a fantastic experience because I basically delivered those puppies because it was so expensive to go to a veterinary doctor to deliver it. So I used to stay overnight and sometimes used to deliver like 13 puppies.
As a teenager?
Yes, as a teenager. I used to have a room. So when my friends were busy, dating, I was busy making money. So that's how my career began.
And then that led to Cellframe. A bunch of friends wanted you to join the company, and you decided you were underpaid. Why not do it myself?
Exactly. I just worked my entire life for less than 9 months. I worked under somebody. I turned around that company. When I joined that company, it was a training center. And India was pretty large at technology training at the time. And this company was making less than 2,000 US dollars a month. He agreed to pay me about 500 US dollars in salary because I didn't want to do anything, just out of college. It's a bachelor's degree. So he wanted me to work for him. He didn't have the money to pay me. But when I left the company, he had a turnover of about 250,000 a month. So I started franchising for him. I wanted to do something big. And when I left him, from being a franchisee, he became a franchisor. And he had about 70 franchisees. And he was supposed to pay me for it, which he didn't do. So then I understood the value of written contracts as well. It is all a learning experience. And then I said, you know what? If I can do that for him, why don't I do it for myself? And that's how Cellframe was born.
Yeah, but you thought really big. You were going to compete with the big boys, and here we're talking about Microsoft. But you didn't think of Microsoft as a competitor, even at that point.
Absolutely not. I mean, in the sense that you can't compete with your road. I mean, we were building a car, okay? The problem is, I used to imagine this. Imagine there's only one type of car, only one color of car, and you have no choice. It's basically dictatorship. That's how Microsoft used to operate. So I thought if I provide a choice for people, that should be an opportunity for us to work in. And we faced a lot of challenges, with OEMs and all of that. But my target market was the people who couldn't afford paying 3 months of their salary check to get genuine software. People predominantly are very nice people. They don't want to, buy illegal software or pirated software. So I wanted to create a product which is affordable, still gives them the same, utilities that is required, and they can use at a PC which is even 10 years old.
The first 6 to 9 months were very difficult, and you were on the verge of going broke. What happened? What saved you?
So we were trying to go the typical fashion of going through the OEMs and getting in large orders where it comes preloaded. It didn't happen because people think software is a very comfortable business. But tell you the fact, software is one of the most dirtiest business. It's like sharks filled up everywhere because you have these large sharks which do not allow small fishes to come in. So it was a pretty challenging pace for that. And then is when, I reached a certain point where I felt, what should I do next? And then I thought, if somebody is bullying you, what do? You go to the biggest bully, who cannot be bullied. So that was the aha moment for me. I said, okay, let me go to the government. And the government sector, we offered an offer which, they couldn't refuse, sorry for quoting that. But what we told them was, whatever you're paying right now, you just pay us 50% of that. Okay, we'll give you the software, we provide you the support, we will handle the complete migration, we will provide you free training. Even if they had given me just 50 cents in order for me to implement that product, I would have done it. So we started off with one ministry, and we went up with only 100 licenses. And the next day morning, they called up and said, okay, in just 24 hours, they said, we are going to go nationwide. Every ministry is going to use your product right now. So we started out with 700, then we went to 7,000, then 70,000, and then millions and millions of softwares was being sold out. And we had the biggest customers, the government. And then we went to educational sector. So these are massive, sectors with very minimal requirement for us to get exposed under our competition. So that's why we grew.
But Cellframe has yet to be a household name the way Microsoft is. Is that by design?
Exactly. Our focus was more towards businesses which do not require a lot of exposure. I believe the advertising dollars should go down for R&D to make your products better, rather than spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a bad product, which most of our competition does. Okay? When you invest on people, when you invest on R&D, you keep developing a product which people love. And word of mouth is the only way for you to survive, especially when you're dependent on repeat business. And that's what we were on, because every year we need to make sure you're happy. And if you have a bad product which keeps failing and not delivering what it promised to deliver, you're not going to use the product. You're not going to pay for me tomorrow morning, unless it is free. But today, we live in a free economy. Even if I give you an app for free, you don't want to download it because it lags your phone. So we focus so much on R&D, and we decided to offer 40% of our revenues to our partners. So they did the selling. I didn't have to do the selling at all. They sold the product like crazy, because localizing the product, selling it locally is very important. How you sell a product to an Indian is different from how we sell it to a Chinese. In China, there's a different way selling in Beijing, a different way in Guangzhou. And same thing in Malaysia or Indonesia or South Africa, Zimbabwe. So we're in 72 countries now. The 72 countries, you have 7,000, 8,000 ways of selling products. So the product is sold when people can connect to it emotionally. People are buying you, not your product, not your services. They're buying you. If they love you, they'll buy anything that you sell. That's how we grew our business.
Sold.
Up next.
I always tell my people, just imagine it.
Now, Arun, Cellframe has been so successful, but you didn't want to stop there. You diversified into agriculture, commodities basically, and real estate. What's the thinking behind that?
I have this fantastic network of partners whom I work with because they are the ones who built me who I am today. So usually what happens is, let's say I'm working with a partner in South Africa, and he comes from a mining background, and he calls me up and says, brother, why are you not looking at mining? It's a fantastic option. So what happened is, instead of bringing the money and putting back in and just keeping it in the bank, didn't make any sense. So in 2008 is when we decided to move on. And you know what happened in 2008? The whole world was running away from the market. And we thought that things were available at such a good price, and basically they were giving away for free. So we started, let's enter into this business. And I rely on my partners substantially. So that's a perfect time for us to start diversifying. And I always wanted to do that. I'm in the business of making money. So it didn't matter whether.
Aren't you concerned you don't have the expertise? Is it about hiring the right people, the smartest people in the industry?
Absolutely. I mean, see, today, maybe 10, 15 years ago, if you need to hire a smart person, it was so much of difficulty. Now with professional networks and people, interconnected, technology has changed the way people interact with each other. So on a click of a button, you can find a guy with 20, 25 years experience who can deliver basically what you want. I mean, last week, we wanted some guy with an experience having worked in Uganda on a very specific kind of tree in the forest. And it took my people less than 15 minutes to find an expert in the particular region. So you have to rely on people in order to grow. That's the reason why, even though our corporate team is very small, we have just 130 people working for me directly, but indirectly we have about almost close to 14,000 people working for the Pudur Corporation. So we grew through the network. And whatever I've learned today is on-field experience. It's nothing that you learned in school that I've basically used now while doing business.
So you started off as a technology company,
Yeah.
but increasingly your non-technology sectors will be, well, occupying more of the business. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, pretty much. We are looking at building up the non-technology sector as well. So even during a downturn, no matter how bad the situation is globally, still the requirement for healthcare is always going to be. Still requirement of oil and gas is always going to be. Prices can fluctuate, can go and come and down, but demand will always grow. I've never seen a situation where demand completely collapses because the population is growing. As more and more population grows, people want more stuff. So when you want more stuff, you need to have other industries as well.
Interesting to note that 40% of your own employees end up being entrepreneurs themselves. What kind of culture is there within the company? How do you encourage entrepreneurship within the company?
No, at Cellframe, I always believe that, I've told this before as well, 95 is basically a jail sentence. And I always tell my people, why you want to work with me? That's the first question I ask people when they come for an interview. So they'll say, oh, we need to have experience, we need to do this, we need to do that. I said, you can do the same thing. If you are comfortable delivering me that product, by doing it on your own terms, I'm comfortable with that, because human resource is one of the most, even though the population is growing, human resource is still a very scarce resource. I mean, getting the right kind of people for the job is such a big challenge. And given an option, everybody wants to be their own boss. Now we can see globally people freelancing is now the talk of the town. I mean, today you talk to anybody, everybody wants to be a freelancer. But I realized that 10 years ago, I gave the option to my employees to work from home. And literally 85% to 90% of my employees in a year will definitely take the option of working from home. And then we move forward and offer them an option. I say, okay, you're developing this product for me. are you comfortable to set up your own team and running it on your own? And we will give you a 3-year contract to make sure that you deliver the product in the same fashion. So these people have been working with me for 3 years and 5 years, and I know how they deliver quality. So by making an entrepreneur on your own, it makes things very easy for us.
Essentially what you're saying is anyone, just about anyone, can become an entrepreneur. What's hindering people from becoming their own bosses, running their own business? Is it fear?
Fear is one of the factors, and people are programmed in such a fashion. The education system always says that you're well off doing a 9-to-5 job and are getting a guaranteed salary paycheck. That's why I am one of the 1% of the 1%. You have 7 billion people and you have just about 2,000 billionaires. The reason being we are such a small club is because we like to take risk. It's not that we're going to go to a casino and blow the entire money, but still people have that fear. And I always say if you can imagine it, it can be done. I always tell my people, just imagine it. It will definitely be done. Put the effort that is required in order to get it done. But the biggest challenge that everybody faces is the fear. What if I'm not successful? I always say if it doesn't work, you can always come back to work with me. That's not a problem.
Next on High Flyers.
You may be a Victoria's Secret model, you may be Brad Pitt, you still eat 3 times a day and you still visit the toilet.
The wealthiest man in Asia under 40, the 10th wealthiest in the world. When you first got your money, you were pretty flashy. You had about 9 private jets, supercars, yacht, homes, and there was a time when you used to go to the Armani boutique, come out with about 20 suits, some of which you didn't even like. What kind of lifestyle was that? Must have been fun though.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, see, when you certainly realize that you've reached the top of your career, I mean, you always begin with thinking, oh, wow, if I make $100,000, that's where I'm going to retire. Human beings like to keep moving forward, and I was no different. I was that kid who had a lot of cash and didn't know what to do with it. So naturally, you wanted to, get that shiny thing that you can find. I mean, after you get
9 private jets.
I mean, what can I say, because what happens is you become so involved in the whole process of, acquiring it. Oh, this can go extra 40 nautical miles faster than that. Oh, wow, this got the latest, this stuff.
Plus, you've always wanted to be a pilot.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a pilot. That was my initial dream, when I was like very, very young, a fighter pilot to be very precise. My mother said, it's never going to happen. Okay, it never happened anyway. So yes, we got an opportunity to get homes around the globe. We like to travel, and me and my wife, we traveled around the world about 6 times already. So we want to do it in style. I mean, end of the day, it's experiences that you take in your life rather than the money. But when you reach a time when we started selling all the stuff that we bought, you're getting a dime for the dollar. So then we realized this is not proper business practice. This is not the way for us to move forward, because we are so glamorized. Once you're a billionaire, oh, you need to have this. Because we are so glamorized. Once you're a billionaire, oh, you need to have this, you need to have that. That's how you see several billionaires, losing their fortune as well very, very fast. I was lucky enough to learn the lesson very, very fast in my life. Within a matter of 3 to 4 years' time, I decided to cut my losses and move forward, where I said, I need to focus on my business and my people and my stakeholders rather than just, frivolously throwing away money just because you have the money. So we started.
10% of what you earn as a company goes to the foundation.
We focus on 3 things, which is education, equal rights, and environment. 3 things that me and my wife are very passionate about. And we said, okay, let us allocate a certain amount of money. So we start out with about $400 million, and this year we're trying to build it up to $1 billion. This is with 0 contribution from outside. This is all our own money, which we feel we need to invest. And every project that we take, we personally get involved. I have people who are passionate about it, who volunteer themselves to come and work for us. And also there are 4 or 5 people who have got 15, 20 years experience in this whole foundation. It's actually social enterprise is a business as well today. So we wanted to run it like a multinational business, which is purely focused on getting maximum bang for the buck. And that's what we do with the foundation as well.
Talking about the family, Dad was a cinematographer, and you said that 99.9% of the family is in the movie-making business. You're not. Not yet.
Not yet, not yet. In time. I was involved in the movie business when I was young. A few weeks.
How was it like growing up with Dad being a cinematographer?
So glamour was part and parcel of business because you have heroines and heroes visiting your home. They're waiting outside the gate just to get a chance to speak with my dad. I got an idea. I mean, people whom you watch on the silver screen, I mean, in India, people come and fall at your feet. That's a mark of respect for elders. And then you see this huge stars coming and falling at my father's feet and saying, "Sir, please give me an opportunity." So you're not afraid of people thinking, "Wow, he's such a big star. So what is it different?" So I always say this thing. You may be a Victoria's Secret model. You may be Brad Pitt. You still eat 3 times a day, and you still visit the toilet. So when you think in that fashion, nobody is any different at all. But we are getting into the entertainment business. It's part of my plan. In the next couple of years, we are looking at focusing on the Asia-Pacific entertainment business and Africa. We think that there's so much culture, there's so much language, there's so much diversity over here that can be definitely exploited. And we have already worked on a couple of other projects on an independent basis, but we're going to set up something pretty substantially large over here. That's what you're planning.
And you're also looking to list all your companies within the next 5 years. Pretty ambitious.
No, in the sense that Cellframe is now demerged. We have 4 different companies focusing on office suites. We have one on cybersecurity, another one on robotics, another one on enterprise solutions. So each of these companies are themselves multi-billion-dollar companies. Okay, so there are very few people, maybe a couple of people who have built, $2 billion companies. So now the minute I've demerged, I don't know, I may possibly be the only guy who's got 4 companies, technology companies, which are each $1 billion each, or more than that. So we're already doing $8 billion in business. Even if I divide into 4, that's $2 billion per head that we're doing. So we want to list each of these companies, and I'm handing over my babies to each one of them. So we're moving forward from being a founder-run company to a professionally CEO-run companies. So the final act of our exit will be when I list my main company, Pudur Corporation. We already have a large base of $72 billion. So I think we are ready to get listed.
At 37, you have done just about everything you want to do. So what next? I think there is a book coming.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that is something that, my family has been suggesting me to do. But I feel that by sharing, experiences like this, people get an idea. I have a good social media followers as well. So I do share whenever I have the time. But I am trying to put in together a book which will be a very simple guide, for people to do what I've done, to replicate what I have done, because very rarely will you see billionaires sharing their ideas, how they did what they did. But whenever I get an opportunity, I tell them this is a very simple way of doing business. There's no art or this or that. It's just you need to imagine. And once you imagine and you commit yourself to that and have a laser focus on that, anything is possible, anything. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
What does being Indian mean to you?
Indian means everything, in the sense that we are a nation which is the only ancient race in the world, okay, which still survived, even with all the looting and atrocities that happened on the race. The only most peaceful race that still exists, 16,000 years, we have never invaded anybody. The reason is we had everything with us. So Indians predominantly come with a business DNA in them. I've seen so many Indians just walking around and say, okay, we want to do this, and they go ahead and become successful. I've never gone any country where I've not met an Indian who's not successful in that local, country or wherever. Today in the Silicon Valley as well, you pick and choose the top 5 companies, you're going to find, at least majority of them have run by Indian CEOs. So being Indian is, you can live India, but India always remains inside you. So no matter where you are, how far away you are, you're still connected with the same values that we grew up with, and it never changes. It never changes you, no matter where you are.
Arun Pudur, thank you so much for being on High Fly. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.